All right, what's going on, you guys? It's JEFFERSCRAFT, and I'm back with some more TrixyBlox for you. I'm gonna, this is part 3 of his ultimate survival world. He's gonna be doing 2 different biomes, but I'll let him explain the whole thing for sure. So you can get an idea of which biomes he's doing next. And if you haven't seen my other 2 videos, I did part 1 and part 2 of his build, and I did a reaction to it, which I'm gonna do the same thing here for you now, and it's gonna be amazing. It's gonna be awesome, guys. I hope you enjoy this, and we'll see you soon. Excellent! All right, you guys, are you ready for this? Let's get into it. Here we go.
I'm upgrading everything in Minecraft to make the ultimate survival world. For this crazy project, I've made a survival island made up of 16 million blocks, including 10...
No, wait, just let me say it again. I know I've said it before, but 16 million blocks in World Painter. So this is going to be a big map, It's kind of hard to tell how big it is, but I don't know. The more he builds on it, you kind of get the idea, you get the context. But man, 16 million blocks, that's huge. That's huge. I cannot wait. All right, so let's get it. Let's go. Let's go.
Biomes full of Minecraft's in-game structures, and I'm transforming all of it. Now, we've already upgraded the plains biome, the desert biome, which includes the beaches, and lastly, the mushroom and swamp biomes.
Oh,
so today,
beautiful.
We're transforming the one and only Darkwood forest, which includes a custom Darkwood village, an abandoned zombie-infested village, and the massively menacing Woodland mansion, all with some crazy backstories. Plus, we're upgrading the forest itself and adding in a few custom builds to take things even further. Now, not only are we going to upgrade everything in the biome on a massive scale, but every interior is going to be fully decorated, and with the help of my girlfriend Steph, there will be a bunch of hidden secrets, custom loot, and plenty of in-depth lore and stories that carry throughout the rest of the world.
All right, well, dang, I know, I probably already explained this, and so is he, but he is actually making lore to this world. There's going to be, like he said, there's going to be treasure chests and custom, I don't know, like custom treasure maps, I think, even. So, there's going to be stories behind every structure and how it became and the lore, like you said in the last one, behind the desert tribes and man, it's just so amazing, man. I was so impressed, by the way, with his the desert pyramid. It was so sweet, I mean, I'm sure you guys are too. But so yeah, let me keep going here. Let's keep going. Oh yeah, and by the way, if I haven't already said this, we are gonna do another reaction video to his wife's video, which she talks about the actual lore, like more in depth of the lore behind it. But so let's go.
It's episode 3 of this mega survival world, and I've spent close to 100 hours on this video alone.
Crazy.
All of which has gone into one biome. Now, I know I mentioned in the previous episodes that we'd be tackling multiple biomes per video, but because of the size of this biome, its structures and story, it needed an entirely dedicated video. Now, if you have any...
Okay, so this one is not 2 biomes. This one is going to be just one. And he'll tell you what it is. I'm sure you figured it out already, but he said it was so much work went into this one biome that he couldn't do anymore in this video. So this one has a lot of detail. All right.
Any questions or ideas, or you just want to join the wonderful Blocks fam community, then be sure to check out the TrixyBlox Discord. So, first things first,
right, here
we've got
we
to
go.
remove the original Darkwood trees to make way for our brand new forest. And as you can see, I really wanted to upgrade the scale of these trees dramatically to create a spooky and dense forest, like something from a fairy tale. The default Darkwood trees...
Okay, so I know I've said this before, probably multiple times, but it just impresses me so much how he shows us everything, the process that he goes through. I mean, I'm sure he doesn't show every moment of it. It probably took him, like you said, 100 hours already into this, but it's just cool how he shows his process, how he puts all of this into this, and I'm so impressed, and I cannot wait to play on this. I cannot emphasize that enough. All right, enough of me.
aren't a crazy spectacle, but they do have a large trunk, which is why I opted for such a massive scale, so that when you stand at the foot of them, you really are rather dwarfed in comparison. Because I'm building this world and making it survival friendly, I had to ensure that the trees had enough branches to stop the leaves from decaying once placed and looking like a big old broccoli. I ended up placing 4 different trees, making sure that they had enough variation in height and shape to avoid a repetitive looking forest.
Nice.
I tried decorating the branches with hanging vines, but I removed them as I didn't want these trees to be too similar to our jungle trees once we upgrade them.
Right.
I thought it would make sense to create a few little man-made bridges to connect the plains biome to the Darkwood at different ends of the biome. Perhaps this was built by the villagers to aid in travelling across to trade in each other's biome. Okay, it's time for some major changes. I really wanted to add a bit of variation to the landscape, especially around the main village, as the biome previously felt way too flat. So I quite literally repositioned and pasted an entire mountainscape. Then, to add further variation in terrain height, I cut a major crevice throughout the entire biome for the river to flow through and connect it to the large lake at the centre of the island.
That is sweet.
This alone took a fair amount of time, even though I haven't taken things to the craziest scale like some of my other projects. Because this is a survival world after all. With that done, I started layering the landscape up the side of this hill to create a tiered effect, as this would be the foundations for our new village. As you can see, I dug out a few routes for some rivers and waterfalls, stemming from a large lake of water that sits behind the village, encased in some mysterious mountain peaks.
That looks amazing.
I then tidied things up, including a pathway that snakes up the layered landscape, and finally added in the rivers and waterfalls throughout.
Nice.
With a lot of the main terraforming complete, it's time to include some of those new Darkwood trees that we just made and gradually fill out the forest. I also included a branching off pathway and bridge to the right of where our new village would be, then continued placing in our new gigantic trees and filling up the landscape. Before placing the rest of the trees, I wanted to include a small lake with a monument in the centre. Legend says that the most powerful sword in the land was placed here by a mysterious wizard, who claimed that only a worthy adventurer would be able to retrieve it. Can you guess what this story was inspired by? Now we've got to fill out the remaining half of the biome to finish our dense Darkwood forest. Honestly, if you do play this in survival, then I can guarantee you will never...
Okay, I can guess. The Legend of Zelda, but I can't even think of the name right now. Yeah, you know, Breath of the Wild. There you go, guys. Breath of the Wild. The Master Sword. Trials. I'm sure you already knew that, but that's it.
Run out of a wood supply. You could build an entire kingdom from chopping down even just one of these trees. But before moving on, we've got to fill this forest with some shrubbery and rock clusters. Also, I'm not really sure why, but my Minecraft skin has decided to just disappear throughout the video. So apparently, Minecraft Steve is going to be helping me
I know how that is.
Placing our custom bushes and rocks around really filled up the forest floor, making it much more dense and like an overgrown woodland. These decorations literally cover the entire biome, so you won't want to stray too far from the pathway, otherwise you might just get lost.
Yeah.
As I mentioned, this video alone has taken about 100 hours. So if you want me to transform the next biome and eventually get the completed world download for yourself via Patreon, then you've got to get this video to 250,000 likes.
Oh yeah,
I've had to bump it up quite a bit since the last episode because you guys keep hitting the like goal within a few hours. Now, since the main pathway weaves throughout the forest, I whipped up a few small man-made bridges to cross the crevice and allow access between each section of the biome. As for the main entrance to the village, I tweaked the landscape and then built a diagonal bridge matching the style from the previous bridge designs. Finally, I added some more small bridges to cross the rivers and waterfalls and connected up the pathway that winds throughout our future village. Starting with the first of our profession-based buildings for the Darkwood village, the cleric, or I suppose in this case, the rabbi. Now, as I've mentioned in previous episodes, I plan to change things up for the village church and build different places of worship in different biomes. So far, we've built a church in the plains biome, a mosque in the desert, and for the Darkwood, I wanted to build a synagogue. The synagogue is a Jewish place of worship, but it can also double up as a place to study and a community center as well. Now, after researching into the architecture of a typical synagogue, I discovered that they're not really limited to a particular style or shape. They vary in design quite a lot. However, the most notable features I found from...
Now that looks like isn't it called the Temple of Time, right? The Temple of Time from Breath of the Wild, or from Zelda. I guess it's not just Breath of the Wild, but I think that, I mean, he might say it, but that's what this design looks like to me. What do you think? All right.
Reference images of real-life synagogues were large circular windows sandwiched between two towers with bulb-like roofs. Now remember that this is meant to be my own take on this style of religious building, and is in no way meant to be an accurate representation of a real synagogue. I plan to continue making alternative places of worship in other biomes, so let me know.
Okay, sorry about interrupting once again, but hey, it's my job, you know what I'm saying? But so to me it looks like the Temple of Time, but he's saying he got inspiration from like a real synagogue. So there you go.
What you'd like to see down in the comments below. As for the interior of the synagogue, I discovered that the style and layout seemed to vary quite a bit. The only thing that did seem to persist were archways, overlooking balconies either side, rows of pews, and a raised platform. You can access the second floor via the front towers, and with the design laid out, I mirrored it to the other side of the building. I realized how massive I ended up making this building once I attempted placing it down, so I had to do some tweaking to the landscape in order to position it at the highest tier of the village. Our second profession-based building is for the cartographer. I settled on a peaked roofed fantasy style for this building, which is going to loosely persist throughout the remainder of the village. I'm aware that a Darkwood village doesn't actually exist in-game. However, as I've mentioned previously, I intend to make custom villages even for biomes that don't spawn their own villages. Obviously, because the cartographer lives here, I had to include a separate lookout tower that connects to the side of the building. The next profession building, the weaponsmith. The plan for this building layout was to follow the same sort of design as the vanilla building, with the main forgery and large furnace residing on a stone platform work area that's attached to the side of the building. You'll also notice I added a slight curvature to the rooftops of each building using slabs and trapdoors to make a more unique design. With the weaponsmith complete, of course, I had to accompany it with an armorer. I decided on an entirely new design for this building, and I made a start on it by working on a diagonal axis. You can see the vanilla armorer building to the right, which I used as a reference. The only notable difference the armorer building has to the regular village buildings is a chimney stack, but I wanted to include a turret tower into this building design, as I felt that it suited the armorer profession. With the main profession buildings complete, I placed them at different levels across the village. As for filling up the remaining space, I used red wool as a guideline to position and place down the remaining village houses. So from the red wool, I started building up individual village houses on loads of different angles. The reason I didn't place down the vanilla village houses and technically transform them is because it's going to be pretty much impossible to do that, especially when I'm challenging myself to build most of these houses on a diagonal. This also means I'm building each of these houses by hand, limiting my use of world edit to duplicate buildings, avoiding repetition, and creating a more immersive environment for you guys to explore. Now remember, each of these buildings may be small, but they're also all fully furnished and have usable interiors, meaning this process took plenty of time. This village ended up being rather large and jam-packed with houses, which was the ultimate goal. As I stated earlier, the aim for this entire biome was to make things much larger than its vanilla predecessor. Since Mojang didn't create a Darkwood village, I had to do it justice and do something a little more wild. I wanted this to feel like a total transformation, which meant putting the extra hours of work in and really going all out. This project is really helping me to show you guys what I can build in different styles on a smaller scale than my usual projects, with some individual mega structures to tackle, as well as densely packed villages. I have so many more projects planned, and I cannot wait to show you guys my full building potential. Now, to add even more variation to the village and to enhance that fantasy theme, I included some hobbit houses embedded in the different layers of terrain. I built the original hobbit house normally and had to include a few diagonal variants along the final top layer of the village.
That's amazing. I love this village.
Even though I didn't plan to include a farmer profession in this biome, I thought that it would fit nicely in one of these flat spaces I created up on the hillside. Plus, I couldn't leave all these villagers going hungry, so I quickly whipped up a crop farm. To bring our little custom village to life, I redesigned a few small decorations, including a cart, a small flower bed, a lantern, a bell, and a well to scatter around the village. With the decorations complete, I placed them around the village to add that finishing touch. Things are really looking lively now, but I'm not quite finished with this area yet.
It's alive.
The hidden lake behind the village has a mystery of its own. A crazy old wizard lives there. Now, if you were listening closely, you may have picked up that this wizard is the one who placed the legendary sword in the Darkwood forest for a worthy adventurer to retrieve. But he actually feeds a lot more into the backstory as well. He spends his days trying to unravel the mysteries of the ultimate survival world. The cursed treasure of the evil pharaoh from the desert, the eerie, beached shipwreck, the peculiar coven of witches in the mushroom and swamp biome, the bizarre disappearance of the wealthy family who lived in the nearby Woodland mansion, and much, much more. Perhaps this kooky old guy has discovered something something more about this surreal island and its secrets.
That's beautiful,
not to
dude.
mention the legendary fabled treasure. As you can see, I went for a traditional wizard tower vibe, sticking with the materials that match the rest of our Darkwood forest. To make this tower a little more wacky and puzzling, I added plenty of smaller roofs into the main tower, as well as a larger outcropping at the bottom, which I later on decided to tweak slightly so that it felt better connected to the rest of the building.
Oh, the cinematic. Yes. In all its glory. Look at that place. It's beautiful.
And finally, we're moving on to the Woodland Mansion, which literally could have been its own video. Now, you may have seen some of my mega transformations of Minecraft's in-game structures, but I haven't actually tackled the Woodland Mansion yet. For my mega transformations, I scale things up massively, but to keep things authentic and true to survival Minecraft, I decided not to scale things up for this one. Perhaps if you guys want to see it, I'll do a mega transformation of the Woodland Mansion, even crazier than this one. But for now, let's focus on this upgrade, which is still huge. So as you can see, I'm starting with the entrance and really trying to channel a menacing vibe into my building. I've seen a few Woodland Mansion transformations that give off a sort of ski lodge or log cabin vibe, which is cool, but I think a mansion should look a little bit more intimidating and ominous. For the main entrance, I opted for this grand design, with 3 feature windows at the top and a harshly sloped roof. Even though the original Woodland Mansion's roof is super flat, I thought that I could take that aspect and present it in a different way, with a harshly sloped roof, since it still has a large surface area. To make the front even more grand and imposing, I decided to add towers on either side, but sort of embed them into the main entrance. I don't know about you, but I'm definitely getting those spooky vibes already.
Yeah, it's like a haunted mansion now.
The first side of this huge structure. So I started by upgrading each section and added plenty of details while still maintaining some semblance of the original design. I decided to make the corner of the building a little more interesting with a sort of roofed terrace at floor level, and adapted the roof up top to add some more dimension before repositioning things so that the serious building can start. Whilst I get into the nitty-gritty of the building, I should probably give you a little insight into the mystery of this Woodland Mansion. Once said to be home to a rich family of merchants, this ominous mansion contains many secrets, and maybe even relates to the huge treasure hunt starting at the shipwreck that I built in the last episode. Trading across the vast regions of the ultimate survival world, this family learned many secrets about the island, its history, and its inhabitants. Many attempted to infiltrate the mansion in hopes of uncovering ancient secrets or hidden treasure, and the wizard cast protective enchantments to help keep the family safe. One day, the family mysteriously disappeared without a trace, and the mansion is now said to be home to some far more fearsome inhabitants these days. I wonder if you guys will be able to work out what really happened. Notably, the hardest part of the Woodland Mansion to tackle is the completely flat roof. However, seeing as we've essentially encapsulated the vanilla structure with the front and sides of the building now complete, we can cut away the center of the mansion to create a classic courtyard.
Oh, nice.
It's very difficult figuring out how to approach this giant cube of a building. However, this definitely felt like the best approach, as it breaks up the design and adds more layers to the building. The idea, of course, is to have overlooking balconies and walkways to make the courtyard feel more airy and open than it actually is. I continued building up the back wall of the courtyard, topping it off with another square roof design, making this the largest segment of the building. To add the final feature to perfect the courtyard, I embedded a clock tower, sticking as closely to the original building shape as possible to finish this section off. At the back of the courtyard, we created that large wall and roof section, which is the largest part of this building. So I was able to mirror the design to the back of the mansion and then marry it up with the rest of the building. For the remaining corners of this building section, I continued the wall and roof design all the way around and connect it back up into the clock tower.
Man, that's
then,
so good,
to complete the exterior of the new mansion, I scattered around several roofed windows to add in as much final detail as possible.
Oh man, can you guys believe that? Look at that place. I mean, just to watch him like do it in fast motion was just amazing, you know? This guy's cool. You guys should go check him out. Go subscribe if you haven't yet, you know? But definitely you got to play this world. I'm going to soon, you know, that's what I'm doing this for, but as soon as I can, as soon as he's done, I'm going to download this world and we're going to be doing a survival series on this, man. Checking out all this lore, you know? All right, here we go.
As well as including several roofed terraces around the back of the building. Now, with the exterior of our new mansion complete, the surrounding environment needs a little sprucing up so that it matches the new mansion's design. Using large cylinders of sand, I was able to whip up several mountains surrounding the mansion and provide a more interesting and intimidating backdrop.
Beautiful.
Lastly, I added in the trees, rocks and shrubbery that we created earlier to finish this section of the Darkwood forest. Of course, we created that perfect opening in the middle of the mansion for a courtyard, so I decorated it with pathways, bushes, flowers, and a fountain. As a final addition to the mansion, I mixed in different block materials to add texture and wear and tear to the mansion. It is abandoned after all. Now you may be asking yourself, but Trixie, what about the interior? Well, I dissected the vanilla mansion just to see the different types of rooms that we're going to be dealing with. Of course, I'm not going to be able to paste the hallways and rooms into the new mansion and directly transform them. However, I can build an interior that follows the same kind of style to match the vanilla interior, just with larger rooms and much more detail and decoration.
Man, that's awesome.
As you can
Look
see,
at that.
the current interior of our new mansion is a mostly hollow shell, with the remains of some of the vanilla structure. So, first things first, I had to clear everything out and neaten things up so that I could plan things properly. Using an assortment of coloured wool, I mapped out and made plans for the ground level of the mansion, marking out hallways, rooms, and staircases. Of course, the first room that you need as soon as you walk in the front door of a mansion is a grand entrance. The main reason I started here was because I planned to keep this entrance very open plan, allowing access from all 3 floors of the mansion to balconies with a view all the way down to the bottom floor. As you can see, I added in a bunch of banners to decorate with this stag-like design inspired by MC banners.
Nice.
As for the hallways, the most notable part from the original design is the pillared supports on either side that lined the walls down the full length of the hallway. I made sure to add plenty of small decorations which took up the majority of the time, such as banners, plant pots, paintings, armor stands, and cobwebs to add to that creepy and abandoned vibe that we're going for. I then tackled the second floor, plotting out all the different rooms and decorating the long winding hallways. And not forgetting the third floor, where I had to plan and decorate again, making sure that I included plenty of chests, which of course means some epic loot for you guys.
Nice.
So for the first room, I decided this mansion needed a grand kitchen. I added a laundry area, a large cooking area, a classic checkered kitchen floor, and some tables for food prep. I then added some sinks, lighting, chests, towels, well, banners, and a whole lot more to really bring the kitchen to life, as if it was left this way many years ago. Next up, it's the grand bedroom. We can't have a mansion without a classic 4-poster bed. I also added in a nice big rug, a bookshelf, a little grandfather clock, a wardrobe, and some armor stands.
Oh, cool,
this family's ancestors were famously members of the USW Order of Knights, so they have a pretty sweet collection. Another essential room in a classic mansion is a big old dining room. So that's our next stop. I added this long table and chairs, as well as some decorations, taking a few bites from the cake to keep me going throughout all of this building. Now for a cozy library, perhaps where the merchant family wrote their diary entries. Who knows? But I don't think anyone could read all of those books in one lifetime. Just to quickly show you guys some of the other rooms that I added, both the vanilla upgrades and the new additions, we have a once cozy lounge and study area, a fully stacked wine cellar for all the families partying, an upgrade of the villager statue room, which just might be linked to the jungle biome, and finally, a chest room, crammed full to the brim with chests.
Look at that.
As well as these main rooms, there are a bunch of smaller rooms throughout this huge mansion. And who knows, I might have even added a secret room or two in there.
All right, man. Here we go, cinematic, exciting stuff, man.
And last but not least, we have the abandoned zombie village to tackle, which I of course had to replan. For this area, I adapted some of the Darkwood village buildings so that they looked more ruined and abandoned. If you're wondering why this village has been left like this, it all started many years ago when a plague began to spread throughout the community. It almost took over the whole village, with some survivors fleeing to the Darkwood village. Terrified that they might have brought this plague with them, the Darkwood villagers wouldn't allow the survivors to settle there. With nowhere else to go, the outcast surviving villagers fled across the river to the jungle and turned to a life of pillaging. Their story continues in the jungle, which is going to be left for when we tackle that biome in another video. But anyway, as you can see, this little fishing village would have been a picturesque little community in its heyday. Maybe, as a side quest, you guys could cleanse this village of its plague and restore this community to its prime. And last but not least, to finalize our abandoned zombie village and this huge episode, I added in the rest of the trees and forest decorations. Let's take a look at all of our progress.
All right, here we go. Here's the cinematic. I said it too early there. Ooh, I love that village, man. That's amazing. There's the master sword. Oh, and the mansion, man. Yeah, no wonder why it took him 100 hours, dude. Look at this. I can't wait to go here. Oh man, it's beautiful. Uh oh. Zombie villagers. That's awesome.
As you can see, this video has taken a lot of time and hard work. Which biome should I do next? We have the mesa, savanna, taiga, snowy mountains, and jungle left to transform, as well as some smaller transformations of the ocean, nether, and end. But seriously guys, thanks for all the crazy support on this project.
Man, amazing.
The Blocks fam community just keeps growing, and I'm so grateful that you're all here. As a heads up, in the next video, I'll be revisiting the underwater kingdom, but don't worry, I'll be back with the ultimate survival world after that if we can hit the like goal. Remember to join the Discord to send in your ideas and ask any questions, and also make sure to check out the Instagram giveaway as well. And of course, don't forget to click the link in the description to download Core. But apart from that, I'll see you in the next one.
All right, man. Amazing stuff. Hope you guys enjoyed this. I know I did. I'll come back soon, probably another week or so with part 4. And shoot, I think that's, oh, and then his wife's lore video. So definitely those two, and then until he comes out with another one, that'll be it. And I'm pretty sure. Well, we'll get. Excuse me, guys. We'll get into that when we get to it. Okay. So I hope you guys enjoyed this. Don't forget to have a good afternoon, good evening, and good night. And we'll see you next time. Peace.